Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into a role that's fundamental to making sure things actually work the way they should.
Yeah, we're talking about the quality supervisor.
Exactly. And we're using a really interesting source to guide us. 25 Quality Supervisor interview questions and answers from Climb.
Right. And look, the goal here isn't really interview prep. It's more about using these questions as a framework,
To kind of unpack what quality supervision is all about.
precisely. To understand the core qualities, the skills, the approaches, basically what makes this role tick. This source is like our lens for that.
Makes sense. Because quality is just, well, it's everything, isn't it? Whether it's a product or a service.
It's the foundation. The supervisor is right there, making sure standards are met, things are consistent.
So this deep dive is kind of your shortcut to understanding that whole area.
Okay, let's kick things off. At its core, what's the quality supervisor actually doing?
Well, the source paints them as stewards, basically. Stewards of quality.
Stewards, I like that. So ensuring products, services, they meet the required standards. And importantly, align with the company's vision, right? And what customers expect.
So if that's the core job, what kind of person do you need? What are employers looking for? The source gets into that early on.
Yeah, it highlights strong leadership first and foremost. You're leading a team after all.
Makes sense.
But it's not just directing people. It's tied heavily to excellent communication, interpersonal skills,
Meaning you have to talk to everyone.
pretty much. All levels. Production floor, senior management, engineers, you name it. That communication piece is like the glue.
You're translating standards down, issues up, working across teams.
Exactly. And then there's attention to detail. You have to be able to spot tiny things that might become big problems later.
Catching things early.
And paired with that, strong problem solving. Not just finding issues, but figuring out solutions quickly.
And I guess you need to actually know about quality assurance, right? The principles behind it all.
Absolutely. You can't champion quality if you don't understand the fundamentals, which leads right into quality management systems, QMS.
Ah, okay. The source mentions those, like ISO 9001 or AS 9100.
Yeah, those are common examples. And familiarity is key, but it's more than just knowing the names.
What does experience mean here then, according to the source?
It means getting your hands dirty. The source talks about things like auditing against those standards
Okay.
or implementing parts of the QMS, developing corrective action plans when, an audit finds something isn't right, ensuring compliance.
So it's about the practical application, how the system actually works to guarantee quality.
That's it. And these systems, they change, they evolve.
So how does a supervisor keep up or bring in fresh ideas?
Well, continuous learning is part of it. Conferences, publications, networking, the usual stuff.
Right.
But the source also points to using your own experience, looking at your processes, seeing where things could be better, maybe based on new trends or best practices you've seen. It's about being proactive.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. The source poses a really practical scenario. A production line is just churning out subpar products. What do you do?
Yeah, this is where the rubber meets the road. The first step, and the source is clear on this, is investigation. You have to find the root cause.
Not just treat the symptoms.
Exactly. So you look at the data, quality metrics, machine settings, whatever. But you also, crucially, talk to the team. Is it training? Materials? The equipment itself?
So diagnose first, then prescribe.
Precisely. Once you think you've nailed down the root cause, then you develop an action plan. Maybe it's changing a process, maybe it's more training, maybe swapping out materials or fixing a machine.
And that often means working with other teams, right? Engineering, maintenance.
Oh, absolutely. Collaboration is key. Then you implement the plan, but it doesn't stop there.
Follow through.
Rigorous monitoring,
Yeah.
watching that process closely, giving feedback to the team. And documentation, the source really stresses writing it all down. What was wrong, what you did, what happened.
So it doesn't happen again, hopefully. And everyone learns from it.
That's the idea. Build that knowledge.
The source also gives an example of a tough call shutting down an assembly line because of a faulty machine. What's the takeaway there?
It really highlights that core principle, quality over speed or short-term cost savings. Shutting down a line costs money, no doubt. It messes up schedules.
Big decision.
Huge. But the example shows that fixing the root cause right away led to a better product in the end and probably saved more money and headache long-term. Protected the brand too.
Shows commitment.
Exactly.
Oh.
Courage, even.
Okay, what about when the problem isn't inside the factory but outside, like a sudden surge in customer complaints?
Yeah, that's quality becoming visible externally. The approach there, according to the source, starts with digging into that feedback, Are there patterns, common themes?
Finding the signal in the noise.
Right. Is it one specific feature? A certain type of interaction? Then again, it's about teamwork. Working with product development or operations or customer service, whoever's relevant.
To figure out the root cause and fix it.
Yes, and develop a plan. But it's twofold. Fix the underlying issue to prevent future complaints.
And deal with the customers who already complained.
Exactly. Keep them informed. Address their concerns directly and quickly. That's crucial for regaining trust. It's part of managing the quality perception.
Now, sometimes the challenge isn't a machine, it's the people. What about resistance from staff to new quality rules or procedures?
That's a really common one. And the source suggests, again, starting with understanding why. What's the root cause of the resistance?
I like a root cause analysis for people issues.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it that they don't get why it's needed? Are they worried it'll make their job harder? Do they just disagree with the approach?
Once you know the why.
Then you can address it effectively. Clear communication is key. Explaining the benefits not just for the company, but for them, for the customer.
Makes sense.
And listening. Really listening to their concerns and taking them seriously. Maybe providing more training, more support. It's about getting buy-in, not just forcing compliance.
Okay. That leads nicely into maintaining quality over the long haul. It's not just fixing problems, right? It's about consistency.
Definitely not a one-off. The source talks about a mix of approaches, using data metrics like defect rates, customer feedback scores, that kind of thing.
The numbers.
Right. But also visual checks. Actually looking at the product or the process. It's a quantitative and the qualitative. Regular checks, internal audits, maybe external audits too. They're all verification steps.
And keeping up with how the industry does things.
Yeah, staying current on best practices is crucial. Quality isn't static. You need to make sure your methods are still effective, still competitive. It's that continuous improvement mindset.
So if that's maintaining quality, what about striving for the absolute highest quality? What's the strategy?
Well, the source suggests it requires a really comprehensive approach. A solid QMS is the foundation, clear standards, regular inspections, good training.
Got it.
But then it really leans on using data and analytics, constantly measuring performance, finding variations, pinpointing where you can do better.
And the people side again.
Crucial. Fostering open communication between management and staff. Getting everyone involved, sharing ideas for improvement. It has to be a team effort to reach that highest level.
How often should these quality checks actually happen? Is there a rule of thumb?
The source says regularly. It suggests maybe every 2 weeks as a baseline, but emphasizes it really depends on how complex the product or process is.
So it varies.
It varies.
Oh.
And definitely check whenever something changes a new material, a tweaked process. Plus, random spot checks are important too, to keep everyone on their toes.
So let's say a process is underperforming. How does the supervisor actually go about improving it? The source had an example, right?
Yeah, it described analyzing a process that wasn't meeting the mark. The steps involved figuring out where things were going wrong, then implementing specific checks or controls at key points.
Kind of building in safeguards.
Exactly. Then documenting the new, improved process, making it the standard, and crucially, regularly reviewing it to make sure the fix actually stuck and is working long-term. It's about verifying the improvement.
Let's talk tools. Quality control software gets a mention. How does that fit in?
Oh, it's huge in modern quality. It lets supervisors monitor production, often in real time, track performance, make sure things meet spec, spot trends, identify areas needing work.
So it generates a lot of data.
Tons. And the source highlights the importance of reviewing reports from the software and making sure that data flows to other relevant departments, like production or supply chain planning.
And when someone is doing a manual inspection, how do they make sure they're being accurate?
Good question. The source points to a few things. Taking detailed notes can't rely on memory alone.
Right.
Double-checking your own work or having a teammate verify findings, that adds another layer of confidence.
Like peer review.
Sort of, yeah. And using data tools, even with manual checks,
Mm-hmm.
like statistical process control charts, SPC, they help visualize trends and variation, and again, root cause analysis to really understand why a defect happened accurately.
Okay, let's circle back more directly to the people leadership aspect. It seems so central. How does a supervisor make sure employees actually follow the quality policies?
It's about building a culture, really. The source stresses clear, comprehensive training, not just reading a manual, but hands-on practice too.
So they understand the how.
And the why. Creating an environment where people feel safe asking questions or pointing out potential issues, that open communication is vital.
What else?
Regular performance reviews that specifically touch on quality adherence. And, the source mentions, having a system of rewards for consistently good quality work, and, conversely, consequences for consistent non-compliance. Accountability matters.
The source also brings up working well with others and specifically managing a diverse workforce.
Yeah, that's absolutely critical for a supervisor today. You need to collaborate effectively, value different viewpoints that actually helps problem solving.
Being inclusive.
Totally. Creating an environment where everyone feels respected, treated fairly. The source even gives a practical example, like providing instructions in someone's native language if needed. It's about considering individual needs to ensure everyone can contribute effectively.
And training people on specific QC procedures. That must be a core task.
Oh, definitely. The supervisor is often responsible for creating or delivering training programs, teaching people exactly how to spot issues, how to document them correctly, who to report them to.
That's ongoing.
It has to be. Providing support, coaching, maybe retraining if processes change, or if someone needs a refresher.
What about leading a team of, say, dedicated inspectors or auditors?
That requires ensuring consistency above all else, making sure everyone on the team applies the standards and protocols the same way.
How do you do that?
Implementing checks and balances within the team, reviewing their work, maybe doing side-by-side inspections occasionally, providing ongoing training and mentorship to keep their skills sharp and maintain high standards across the board.
Okay, last big people question. How do you actually motivate your team to care about quality? Not just follow the rules, but really own it.
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
The source gives a few pointers. Leading by example is huge. If you're passionate about quality, it rubs off.
Sets the tone.
Exactly. Giving regular, specific feedback, telling people when they're doing well on quality and how they can improve. Recognizing and rewarding that good performance makes a difference.
Makes sense.
Also, constantly communicating the why, helping people see how their individual work connects to the bigger picture, happy customers, company success, and fostering collaboration, making quality a shared goal, not just the supervisor's job.
So if we pull all these threads together, the technical skills, the systems knowledge, the problem solving, the leadership,
Right.
how does the source suggest someone frame their suitability for this kind of role?
It's about showing the blend, really. Highlighting your experience with quality assurance processes, sure, but also showcasing times you've proactively identified issues, emphasizing your leadership, your communication skills, and underlining that you're organized, detail-oriented.
So proving you have both the technical chops and the people skills.
Exactly. That you can manage the processes and lead the people to achieve those high standards.
It really paints a picture of a very multifaceted role. It's definitely not just about ticking boxes on an inspection sheet.
Not at all. It's technical, it's analytical, it's strategic in some ways, and it's deeply about people. Communication, training, motivation, navigating challenges together.
That holistic skill set, as you said, operational, analytical, and influencing people.
That sums it up pretty well.
And understanding all that definitely gives you a new appreciation for what goes into the quality of, well, pretty much everything we use or interact with.
It really does. You start seeing it everywhere.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, guided by that climb source, we've really walked through the whole landscape of quality supervision. The core job, the tools, the inevitable challenges, and that critical human element.
Yeah, it's clear just how vital this role is. It's a linchpin for operational success and ultimately for keeping customers happy.
So before we sign off, here's something for you, our listeners, to think about. What part this quality supervisor role that we've discussed today do you think actually has the biggest impact on your own daily life? Maybe in ways you hadn't really considered before this conversation?